Childbirth saved my life. Mother, 29, discovers she has cervical cancer. A mother of two says having her youngest daughter may have saved her life by revealing she had cervical cancer. Carla Woods, 29, had no idea she was ill because she didn't have any other symptoms. And it wasn't until she was in labor with Freya, now 14 months old, that doctors noticed a tumor near her cervix, and it had already grown to the size of a satsuma. Mrs. Woods has since had chemotherapy and 2 types of radiotherapy before being given the all-clear in January this year. She has hailed Freya the family's little miracle baby because, if she hadn't had her when she did, the cancer could have spread and become more dangerous. It was such a shock for me and my husband, Andrew, when I was finally diagnosed in June 2018, said Mrs. Woods, a healthcare advisor from Caerphilly in Wales. We had no idea it would be something as serious as cancer. I never missed a smear test. I had one 6 months after my eldest daughter, Paige, was born, but I was due my next one when I was pregnant with Freya, which stopped me from having it done. Mrs. Woods said her midwife at first thought the lump was a fibroid, a non-cancerous lump in the womb, and she told her to book a doctor's appointment. But, after further tests, the family were told the lump on her vagina wall was cancer and needed immediate treatment. It had already spread to lymph nodes in her groin and was at risk of spreading further. The tumor was already the size of a satsuma and I needed chemotherapy and radiotherapy to get rid of it, Mrs. Woods said. I also had a 3-week course of internal radiotherapy called radiotherapy. It wasn't how I'd expected to spend my maternity leave, but I was grateful to have caught it early so there was treatment available. Radiotherapy is a type of radiation treatment which involves placing a piece of radioactive material inside the body beside the tumor so radiation continuously leaks out into the cancer. Her treatment has left the mother of 2 infertile, but she says she feels lucky to be clear of the disease and is warning other women to go to their smear tests. Cervical screening is offered for free on the NHS to women in the UK aged between 25 and 64. The brief test checks for changes to cells in the cervix which can reveal whether someone is at higher risk of developing cancer in the future. Mrs. Woods said, I didn't have any of the usual symptoms that are typical of cervical cancer, for example, bleeding or back or pelvic pain. So if I'd not been giving birth, the tumor would have continued to grow, which is why I'm so thankful to Freya. People think they're invincible, but it can happen to anyone, which is why smear tests are so important. Smear tests help detect cancer even when there's no symptoms at all. I have been left infertile by the cancer treatment as it has caused my body to be in early menopause, but I'm so happy to now be cancer-free. And she thanked the health workers at the hospital where she was treated, adding, I can't thank the staff at the Valindra Cancer Centre and Cardiff for all their support during and after treatment, as well as my friends and family. I'm now sharing my story as a warning to other women and raise awareness for cervical cancer. More than 3,000 women are diagnosed with cervical cancer each year in the UK, and around 850 die annually. Almost all cases of the illness, 99.8%, are preventable and most are caused by a virus called HPV, which can be spread through sex and affects around 8 in 10 people. A vaccination program immunizing girls and, from this year, boys against HPV while they're at school is expected to wipe out cervical cancer within decades. What is a smear test? A smear test detects abnormal cells on the cervix, which is the entrance to the uterus from the vagina. Removing these cells can prevent cervical cancer. Most test results come back clear. However, 1 in 20 women show abnormal changes to the cells of their cervix. In some cases, these need to be removed or can become cancerous. Cervical cancer most commonly affects sexually active women aged between 30 and 45. In the UK, the NHS cervical screening program invites women aged 25 to 49 for a smear every 3 years, those aged 50 to 60 every 5 years, and women over 65 if they have not been screened since 50 or have previously had abnormal results. Women must be registered with a GP to be invited for a test. In the US, tests start when women turn 21 and are carried out every 3 years until they reach 65. Changes in cervical cells are often caused by the human papillomavirus, HPV, which can be transmitted during sex. In January 2018, women shared selfies with smeared lipstick on social media to raise awareness of the importance of getting tested for cervical cancer in a campaign started by Joe's Cervical Cancer Trust. Celebrities including model and socialite Tamara Ecclestone, former I'm a Celebrity star Rebecca Vardy and ex-Emmerdale actress Caerphilly joined in to support the #SmearForSmear campaign.